You worked your whole life for this. 40, maybe 45 years of early mornings, long shifts, and telling yourself one day, it'll all be worth it. And now retirement is either here or just around the corner, and somewhere deep in your gut, you feel it. That quiet, uncomfortable feeling that something isn't adding up. That the math your financial advisor walked you through doesn't quite match the reality you're living in. If that feeling has ever crossed your mind, stay right here, because what I'm about to share with you in the next few minutes could literally save your retirement or save someone you love from a disaster they never saw coming. Welcome to Credit Smart Canada. I'm glad you're here, because today we're pulling back the curtain on what I call Canada's hidden retirement trap. And trust me, this isn't the kind of thing anyone's going to warn you about at your bank branch. Let's start with a number. The average Canadian believes they need about $700,000 to retire comfortably. But here's what nobody tells you: that number is already outdated. With the cost of living in this country climbing the way it has, with groceries, housing, utilities, and healthcare costs doing things we've never seen in our lifetimes, that $700,000 is quietly shrinking in real value every single year before you even touch it. And if you're sitting on that nest egg thinking you're protected, you need to hear what's coming next. The first piece of the trap is inflation, and not just the kind you're seeing at the grocery store right now. It's the long-term, slow-burning inflation that eats away at your purchasing power year after year. Think about this: if inflation runs at just 3% annually, which is actually below what many Canadians have been experiencing recently, your money loses roughly half its purchasing power in about 24 years. So if you're retiring at 65 and you're planning to live into your late 80s, and statistically, many of you're looking at potentially 2 decades of your savings doing less and less work for you. You're not spending your savings. Inflation is. Now here's where it gets really uncomfortable. Most Canadians are leaning heavily on CPP and OAS to carry a big chunk of their retirement income. And yes, CPP has gotten better over the years with the enhancement plan that's been rolling out. But the maximum CPP payout for 2024 was just over $1,300 a month. OAS adds roughly $700 on top of that if you qualify for the full amount. That's just over $2,000 a month from government sources. In cities like Toronto, Vancouver, Calgary, or even right here in communities across the country where rents have spiked, $2,000 a month barely covers housing in a lot of places. And here's the trap inside the trap: if you waited to start CPP early because you needed the cash flow, you may have locked yourself into a permanently reduced payment for the rest of your life. The difference between taking CPP at 60 versus waiting until 70 can be tens of thousands of dollars over the course of your retirement. Tens of thousands. And most people make that decision without fully understanding what it costs them. Let's talk about the thing nobody wants to bring up: the healthcare time bomb. Canada has public healthcare, yes, and we're proud of it. But what provincial health plans don't cover is quietly devastating retirement savings across this country. Dental work, vision care, hearing aids, prescription drugs depending on your province, private physiotherapy, home care support, long-term care — these costs are real, they are significant, and they hit exactly when you are at your most financially vulnerable. A single long-term care facility in Ontario right now can run anywhere from $3,000 to $7,000 a month for a private room. If you or your spouse needs that level of care for 2 or 3 years, you're looking at a bill that could wipe out everything you spent a lifetime building. And this isn't rare. It's actually more common than most Canadians think, and almost nobody has properly planned for it. There's another layer to this trap, and it's the one that genuinely keeps me up at night when I think about the people watching this channel. It's the tax trap inside your RRSP. For years, Canadians were told: contribute to your RRSP, get the tax deduction, let it grow. Brilliant plan. And it is a good plan. But here's what they glossed over. Every single dollar inside your RRSP is pre-tax money. When you start pulling it out in retirement, Revenue Canada is right there with their hand out. And if your RRSP has grown significantly, those withdrawals can push you into a higher tax bracket. Worse, they can trigger the OAS clawback, officially called the OAS recovery tax, which starts kicking in once your net income crosses a certain threshold. In 2024, that threshold was around $90,000. If you're pulling from your RRSP, taking CPP, collecting OAS, and maybe have some other income coming in, it adds up faster than you'd think. The government could be clawing back a significant portion of the OAS you believed you'd earned, and the tax bill on your RRSP withdrawals could be far larger than you ever anticipated. That's money you planned on having. Gone. And then there's sequence of returns risk, a phrase that sounds technical but is actually devastatingly simple. If the market drops significantly in the first few years after you retire, and you're still pulling money out to live on, you are selling investments at a loss. And those losses are locked in. You don't get the recovery because the money is already spent. A bad sequence of market returns in your first 3 to 5 years of retirement can permanently cripple a portfolio that looked perfectly healthy on the day you stopped working. This is why the years just before and just after retirement are the most financially dangerous of your entire life, and it's why your strategy in that window matters more than almost any other financial decision you'll make. So what do you do with all of this? The honest answer is that there's no single fix, and anyone who tries to sell you one is not being straight with you. But there are real, concrete things that can protect you. Diversifying your income sources across registered and non-registered accounts. Being strategic about when you draw from which bucket. Understanding your likely tax exposure in retirement before you get there. Having an actual number tied to your healthcare and long-term care risk. Rethinking the timeline on CPP if your health and cash flow allow it. These are conversations that need to happen, and they need to happen before retirement, not after the damage is already done. Canada is a beautiful country to grow old in. But the system has gaps, the costs are real, and the people who come out ahead are the ones who understood the game they were actually playing, not the one they thought they were playing. That's why we do this at Credit Smart Canada. Not to scare you, but to make sure you have the truth so you can make real decisions with real information. If this video opened your eyes even a little, share it with someone you care about. Drop your questions in the comments below, I read every single one. And if you haven't subscribed yet, hit that button, because we're just getting started. Your retirement deserves better than guesswork. Let's make sure you get there ready.